We had a conversation around the coffee in Singapore that you mentioned before, and something that you came up with was something I hadn't really thought about too much, but I think you think about it a lot, which is that, and I think most people don't realize it either, which is that crypto is creating a new wealthy elite class or new wealthy elite that is thinking differently and voting with their money differently. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Sure.
And how this could basically affect or change everything in our world.
There's so much that's exciting about crypto. And this is one of the most exciting dimensions to me. Again, I want to zoom way out and introduce to the thought space of this conversation that the only thing that has been consistently true in this world is that it constantly changes. In 300 years ago, whenever the Pilgrims first came to America, it was a class of poor rejects. 300 years later, it is the richest, most powerful nation in the world. That's a change. We can, of course, talk about some of the other storylines in America, the Industrial Revolution. We could talk about electricity, so many things. But I just want to establish as a premise that it's not the case that God created the universe or the Big Bang created the universe, and we finally arrived at the permanent, non-changing destination. That is absolutely unlikely to be the case. What is much more likely to be the case is that we're in the middle of a perpetual cycle of change and journey. And so if you accept that assertion, then things will look different in 20 years. And there's a question about how will they look different. Of course, we can talk about crypto being adopted as an asset class and as a technology. And I believe that will be an important change. As a byproduct of that, the owners of crypto will be endowed with substantial resources. And this will be a class in the same way that in maybe a prominent example for Americans would be that the building of the railroads in sort of the 1860s through the turn of the century created a class of wealth. If we're in the Bay Area right now, the Stanford University is named after one of the founders of the Central Pacific Railroad, who made his fortune creating the first railroad that connected California to the East Coast. On Nob Hill, where the Fairmont is, there are a bunch of mansions. The Crocker Mansion was there. Crocker was also the founder of a railroad. Hopkins, Huntington, these are people who made fortunes from railroads. For instance, people know Carnegie, people know Vanderbilt. That was a class who participated in a moment of opportunity that was created by what was possible then, railroads. And they had certain views about the world, and they did certain things with those resources. Crypto will introduce a new class of people with resources to affect their views on the world. I think it is so unbelievably exciting because it is going to allow people with different values or different backgrounds or different communities to be in a position to express themselves. I think you saw little revealings of this first with NFTs. So for instance, if people know Damien Hirst, one of the most expensive modern artists, he has a piece that was sold for maybe $20, $30 million, which is the corpse of a shark in formaldehyde in a glass case. And that's modern art. And he sold that to somebody for $20 or $30 million. People don't think that's ridiculous. Then the crypto class that we're discussing shows up and buys a punk or an ape or a pudgy penguin for $20,000. And in my mind, that is the same thing, which is a different community who is expressing themselves through art in this case. But that, of course, sort of was surprising to the world that there was this abundance of resources, but a very different view on what was worth deploying them towards, in that case, NFTs. I think in the 2024 elections in the US,
Absolutely.
here again, you saw this crop up, wherein the crypto industry in America was so enraged by the treatment under the prior administration that a pretty disparate group of actors decided to come together and do something about it, and put together more money than any other industry in America, and was extremely efficacious in, I believe, Fairshake identified 34 congressional candidates that they wanted to see win, who had constructive views on fostering the development of crypto in America. And I believe all 34 won, or something along those lines. Dave McCormick in Pennsylvania taking the seat from Bob Casey, who had been in that seat, the Senate seat, for 20 years, I want to say. Bernie Moreno in Ohio. So that was another moment where I think the world saw a lens into the fact that the crypto community has resources and has views, just like every other community. Wall Street has views on how the world should be. The tech community has views on how the world should be. Real estate, people who made fortunes on real estate, people who made fortunes on oil, have views on how they want the world to be. And they put their money behind those views. And that might be endowing a university, that might be buying a shark in formaldehyde, that might be supporting a certain political candidate. And I think it's incredibly exciting that there's a new community around the table, which is the crypto community. And I think that'll be one of the most fascinating elements of this space over the next 10 years.
Yeah, probably still way underestimated. And it's still probably the crypto wealth still very small compared to what it's going to be in the future, based on what we talked about before. So,
right, exactly. It's about $4 trillion today. And you already see some brands sensing this. I want to say that I'm out of my depth, but who's the creator of Birkin bags? Forgive me for not remembering this. These are very expensive handbags.
Yeah, Hermes.
Hermes.
Yeah.
I believe Hermes undertook a token project, an NFT project. Why? Because they serve people with lots of disposable wealth, and they're sensing that there's a new pocket of people who, in the developed wealth in crypto, who have different preferences and proclivities. And so I think that this is, again, a second order effect. This doesn't have to do with moving capital markets on chain. This doesn't have to do with institutional adoption. This just has to do with who controls resources. But I think you'll see more and more manifestations of this dynamic.
You move fast, your money should too. KAST lets you spend stablecoins across 170 plus countries with a card that works at 150 million plus merchants. No waiting, no bank friction. Just money that keeps up. KAST, keep it stable. Check the link in the description to learn more.